Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare.
I took my bra off, slid it down my legs discreetly and placed it in his lap. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Ladies of Reddit, what is the most obvious hint you've dropped that went unnoticed by a guy?
Number 1.
One time I was texting my boyfriend and told him that I bought a vibrator for the nights he was away at work or something else. His exact response was, "Oh cool, what color?" I sent him a picture of it and he replied with, "Can you put it up your butt too?" I sent him a text replying, "Come over and find out." And he replied 2 minutes later, "Never mind, I just Googled it."
Number 2.
My then not boyfriend and I were waiting at the train station on my train home. He would leave with the bus after it arrived. My train came and I thought F it and kissed my then not boyfriend on the mouth. Immediately after, I jumped on the train, on which the doors then closed. I didn't see his reaction nor felt it, so I sat pretty anxious on the train, thinking I ruined it all. About 5 minutes later, I got a text saying, "That was meant as a friend's kiss, right?" Lol, bless his heart.
Number 3.
Last summer I was doing my best to seduce my current boyfriend. We were going swimming at a friend's house, and while they were changing into their bathing suits in the house, me and him made our way to the pool. I take advantage of this moment to strip in front of him, as sensual as possible. Bathing suit was underneath my clothes. He runs past me, full sprint and cannonballs into the pool.
Number 4.
I have a pole in my living room. So one day I dressed like a schoolgirl and waited for my boyfriend to get home. He walked in and I started doing some pole tricks and he literally walked past me into the bedroom to change. I was like, "Oh hello, I'm trying to F," and he said, "Oh, I just thought you were dressed like that." He kinda killed it.
Number 5.
This was like 10 years ago, so this is how I remember it. I was trying to feel him out before that because I really had no idea if he was into me at all, and if he said no, then I could kind of play it off as a joke. Me, so you're saying, if I like this guy, I should just be straightforward and ask him out? Him, yes. Me, okay, do you want to go out with me this Friday? Him, yes, just like that, it was perfect. Me. I was a teenager, give me a break lol. After the pause, I repeated myself but put emphasis on you and he laughed and said yes.
Number 6.
I love to share this one. A long time before my husband and I started dating, we were partying in my apartment. He said he was going to crash on the couch. I told him, "You can come sleep in my bed." I shit you not, he said, "Well, where would you sleep? I can't kick you out of your bed."
Number 7.
Back when my boyfriend and I were just friends, there was a night I spent at his apartment after hanging out together all day. I was going to sleep on the couch, but I managed to talk my way into his bedroom. To get myself into his room, I think I said his roommates or his neighbors were too loud. He got back up to get me a pillow and a blanket so I could sleep on his floor. I had taken off my bra and had asked to borrow his sweater at this point. After a while, I joked that he was hogging all the blankets up in his bed. He finally invited me up. So then I said I couldn't sleep, and suggested we stay up together to watch a movie. Netflix and chill. I had just read in an AskReddit thread that Jurassic Park was a good date movie, so I suggested we watch it on his phone. Without mentioning the date movie part, I was beyond nervous at this point. So we're in his bed, he's holding the phone above our eyes, and I decide to lean on his shoulder and slowly begin the process of inching closer to him. We laid there all night, curled up yet barely touching, neither of us breaking the spell for so much as a peck on the cheek. We fell asleep. He wouldn't end up asking me out until 5 months later. We reenacted this scene on a hotel bed after sneaking up a bottle of wine from his office Christmas party. This time, I decided to stop being so shy. After a few sips of white wine, I finally felt brave. I looked up into his eyes and kissed him. Later that night, we admitted that our mutual hesitation during that first night was due to nerves from not wanting to risk our friendship for a one-night stand. The only potential problem in us jumping into a relationship was our distance, because we were living almost 2 hours away from each other. So less than a week after that, I took the bus down to stay for another night. I told him I loved him and that we should try being together anyway. We've been together ever since, and we're moving in together in a few weeks.
Number 8.
I had basically moved in with him because his ex had basically moved herself into my apartment, and I kept coming home from work to find random guys from Tinder she was effing there. Long story. Anyway, I was at his house all the time, And went from sleeping on the couch to sleeping in his room on the extra mattress to sleeping in his bed to cuddling him to sleeping in his bed entirely naked and rubbing myself against him for several nights before anything happened. We're married now, so it worked out for me, but geez.
Number 9.
Halloween morning 2014, he knocked on my door to drive me to work. We had been friends for a month and he wouldn't make a move, so I answered the door in a t-shirt and cat ears and absolutely nothing else. That bastard walked right past me and looked for coffee in the kitchen. We've been married 10 months now. He claims he totally knew my intentions but knew being a gentleman would get him farther. I say he's full of it.
Number 10.
After a conversation with my boyfriend about not being obvious enough when trying to initiate sex, I decided to entice him by posing naked on the corner of the bed and seductively whispering, "Hey, you," as he walked in the room. His reaction? He walks in the room, gives me a bro nod, and says, "Hey babe, I gotta poop." We did not end up having sex that night.
Number 11.
When me and my fiancée were in high school, we were best friends, which of course meant I was too big of a chicken to tell him how I really felt. Well, my move was to always take the seat in front of him and purposely have my thong showing while we had lectures. This went on for all the classes we had together, and we had a lot. I finally had to confess how I felt to him before he left our hometown for college after 3 years of this game. It turns out he was a chicken too. He said those 4 years were the biggest tease imaginable. It's hilarious to talk about now.
Number 12.
Hitting on my now boyfriend of 3 years. I was complimenting him on how handsome he was and how he had beautiful eyes. I wanted a closer view of them, so he texted me this creepy ass shot of his eyeball with his eyes widely opened as possible. He legitimately thought that's what I wanted. After our first date, I immediately started talking about potential future dates and how much fun I had with him. I stayed out so late that I missed my friend's party. However, because I didn't hug him properly and asked to split the cost of the meal, he thought I wasn't actually interested.
Number 13.
In high school, I sat next to a very quiet guy that I liked, and whenever I was cold I made my arm touch his. He would never move but never talk to me other than to ask about class. 10 years later, I messaged him on Facebook asking about the reunion and jokingly asked him to be my date. He said sure, why not? We've been married for a year next month. He said he didn't remember me from high school.
Number 14.
My ex-boyfriend was pretty reserved and had limited experience with girls when I first met him. It took forever for it to click with him that I was into him. I would convince him to sleep over at my place or let me sleep at his to snuggle. I would wear nothing but a t-shirt and panties. I would literally press my body up against his and talk to him with our faces an inch apart. I would whisper in his ear and rest my hand on his thigh an inch away from his package. It took over a month of this before he realized I wasn't just being friendly.
Number 15.
Texting him every day, he thought I was doing it in a friendly manner. Calling him cute names, he thought I was kidding. Asking him to judge my outfits, he didn't think anything of it. Making bets with him, the loser had to have something done which always revolved around sex. Just joking. I had to tell him I would have liked to have sex with him when I was tipsy, for him to realize I liked him. In the end, I'm glad I've had something to drink that day, or we wouldn't have been together for 7 years.
Number 16.
My current boyfriend, and I started out in this weird friends that flirt stage. I was trying to find a way to get him to make a move. One very hot evening, middle of August, we were sitting in his backyard with a few of our friends drinking beer. I sat on the same lawn chair as him, kind of wiggled in, and said I'm cold. He left me alone in the chair and proceeded to build a giant fire. It took like an hour. When he was finished making the fire, he sat back down in a different lawn chair.
Number 17.
I was dating a guy who told me up front that he was terrible at picking up the signs that someone liked him, was flirting, etc. So on our third date, we planned that he would stay the night at my place. I thought that was pretty obvious, but just to make sure, I put a bunch of condoms on a platter on the bed, with notes all around it, pointing to the platter that said this is a sign.
Number 18.
I was sitting next to a guy I really liked in a theater. The movie was terrible, so I figured I'd make things a little more interesting. I took my bra off, slid it down my legs discreetly and placed it in his lap. He didn't seem to understand what it was and let it fall to the floor. So I tried again, and this time took my shirt off, the same way, so as not to take off the cardigan I was wearing. Basically at this point I was naked from the front, but you wouldn't tell if you were sitting behind me because I hadn't taken off my sweater. I put the shirt in his lap. Again, he effing let it fall to the floor without even looking at it. So at that point I was just sitting there cold, trying to feel around for my damned clothing with my feet remaining as stoic as possible so no one else noticed.
Number 19.
I went to this outdoor chess place, and there was this guy there, obviously a chess nerd, didn't pay a lot of attention to his physical appearance, who said things in conversation I liked. Plus being good at chess is really hot. I went full manic pixie dream girl flirt mode. I made eye contact, acted very interested in things he said, laughed at his jokes, put effort into being charming. I told him to come over to my chess table. I sat there waiting for him to approach, and he didn't. He was completely engrossed in watching someone else's chess game. I finally asked him if he wanted to hang out afterwards with me that night. He said no, I want to keep playing chess, completely straight-faced. He legitimately wanted to play chess instead of hanging out with a girl obviously really into him. I even puffed out my goddamn cleavage. I was not used to having my feminine powers revoked, and I left the chess arena very sexually frustrated and confused. I still think about that guy sometimes even though this happened a year ago. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.